Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Thanks for joining me today. So today I want to make a project with the new Silver Bells collection from Close to My Heart, and I'm going to show you just quickly all of the different options that come with this collection. I don't personally have all of them, but I think that they are very beautiful. You know, there's the paper and some stamp sets and some embellishments and a digital collection. I actually just have these papers here, and I'm not so sure that these two busier patterns are going to work for my layout today. I do have a picture of my husband and me on a rare date night from a few years ago, and I really loved some of the neutral patterns that were in this collection, especially that toffee colored pattern. And I was inspired by one of the layouts in the Love of Color Volume 2 book. Now, this particular piece of artwork is actually 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to make a 12 by 12 page. But I'm going to do my best just to kind of make it work and do my best guess at some of the measurements. So I started with that one piece of pattern paper from the collection. I cut it down to a 10-inch square, and I did use my sewing machine. It's been a while, and I went around twice just to make some wonky stitch lines around the edge. I have a piece of white daisy cut to 11.5 by 11.5, and then I've gone ahead and gutted out my toffee cardstock, which is going to be the frame and the very base of everything. Now, I did pull in one of the patterns from the mix-in collection from November and December in this really pretty desert rose color. And then I've also just got a couple of pieces from that Silver Bells collection. So again, kind of doing my best to make a guess on some measurements here. I used an old thin cut set here to cut a little detail in that one piece. And as far as the other pieces, in case you want to try this layout yourself, this stripe piece is 2 by 3, the charcoal piece is 3 by 4, and that pattern piece is 2.5 by 3. The bigger desert rose piece is 2 by 5.25. And then I used some charcoal cardstock just to die cut out a bunch of letters here in a circle. And I used the 4U thin cuts just to cut out love you. So that's the prep work I've done. And now I'm ready just to kind of start building this layout. So one of the things that I loved was those pennant banners that kind of come out of the bottom of the photo. So I'm just making a cut up the center of my paper and then from corner to corner, meeting where that is in the top of the slit. And then I'm going to edge distress all of my papers with some coordinating ink colors. Now, I learned this really cool trick from my friend Katie Weeks. If you have a pennant banner and you're trying to swipe it with some ink, give it a really gentle bend in the middle, and then you can make the ink pad touch all of those inside edges, which is a really great trick. It doesn't really work for this little scallop piece that I cut out though, so I am using a foam tool and some desert rose ink just to kind of hit all of those little tiny crevices on this piece here. Okay, so I've matted my photo. I cut it down to a 1/4 inch all the way around, and then my white mat is 4 by 6, and then every other mat beyond that is just like a 1/4 inch bigger. So I am going to gut out this white daisy because I use so much white daisy, and I figure, you know what, it's all hidden under there. Why not gut it out? I did gut out that toffee piece. So if you have never done this, but you feel like you're using a lot of cardstock, or if even you have a really pretty pattern paper and it makes you cringe a little bit to use it all when you're just kind of layering stuff up, I would encourage you to gut the center out where you're not going to see it. It's a trick that I do quite a bit, and it just makes me feel better about, saving my paper and stretching it and making it last for a little bit longer. So once I layer it all up, you'll never know that those two bottom pieces are missing their centers. Now, sometimes when you do gut it though, it can be a little bit wobbly and hard to glue down and make it, behave. So I like to stick it down to my Versamat with a little bit of washi tape. And then I thought that because my margin here was just a little bit narrower, that maybe I would use some liquid glue to put down my first piece. And that way I can kind of wiggle it into place a little bit, and it's not quite as wide as using my tape runner. So I'm going to kind of just pop this in so I have a 1/4 inch all the way around to make that frame. And then I have a little bit more room to play with here, so I just ran my tape runner around. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to pull out my T-square ruler just to make sure I get this on straight, because once I stick this down into that tape adhesive, it's going to be a pain to try to move. So I did grab my T-square ruler and hooked it together. And then this is just coming up 1 inch from the bottom because it is a 10-inch square and I want to center it. And so pretty easy just to kind of line things up and then plop that down. Okay, so now I've got the base of things done. And at this point, I was like, you know what? I like that detail on the artwork that is in the Love of Color. There's like a little stamped, I don't know, like it's a bunch of little lines, slashes or dashes. And I have a stamp set that, or a stamp that looks like that. So I'm going to use, well, at first I was thinking some toffee ink. But then I started looking at it. I'm like, there's a lot of brown. There's a lot of brown going on in this layout. So I think I'm going to go with charcoal and try to help to bring that charcoal color in just a little bit more. So you can see my stamping is not exactly perfect, but that's okay. Kind of like my stitched lines around that bigger toffee piece, you know, it's just kind of meant to be imperfect and on purpose. So I'm going to splatter it with some of my Dina Wakley white gloss spray. And then now I am ready to start kind of dry fitting things and figuring out if I cut all of these to some correct dimensions, if they're going to work. So I'm going to layer these two pieces here. I just recently made a layout with this same pattern paper, this Desert Rose color from the Mix-In pack. And I wish I had a whole pack of it because it is so pretty. And I feel like Desert Rose is kind of one of those colors that I forget about and I don't use it very often. But it does work very nicely with the sweater that I'm wearing in the photo. So I thought it would be kind of a fun way to jazz up all of the neutrals that are going on this layout. You know, I've got the browns and the grays and the whites, and that's it. So I'm just using my sweater as some inspiration and that Desert Rose pattern paper just to make everything kind of pop a little bit. Okay, and then I'm taking that circle that I cut out of charcoal paper and I'm using a sanding tool just to kind of scrape away the color from the edges. And then I think I might put my title over here to the left-hand side. When I was running it through my die cutting machine, in my head, I was picturing it over to the right. But once I picked it up and kind of set it down over there, I was like, no, I think I like it over here on the left a little bit better. I laid it down on the right where I had, you know, envisioned it in my head. And I was like, no, tried moving it up to the top. And I think I'm just going to kind of nestle it into those corners and spaces that I've created with the different layers and the papers. And I'm going to do it just about like so. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. And then I noticed on the new Stamp of the Month stamp set, this is called Thanks a Bunch. It's from November. There is a little sentiment on there that says, today and every day I am. And it's meant to kind of pair with like grateful, thankful. There's like a bunch of different other sentiments on that stamp set. And that little line reminded me of the song that my husband and I danced our first dance to at our wedding, which was Marry Me by Train. And one part of the lyrics say today and every day, you know, marry me today and every day. And so I thought it would be fun to just mask part of that stamp off and stamp that underneath my title as well. So I'm going to do that. In the end, you can't really see it very well, but I know it's there and I think that's kind of fun. So this is just the only picture that we took that night. You know, date nights are kind of few and far between because we have 3 children. And I mean, my mother-in-law is sweet, but that's a lot to ask of her. And so we had kind of snuck out and gone to a local restaurant where they were having a comedy night. And we never get to do stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. And we're also kind of old and not very good at selfies. So this was like really the only good picture I had from that evening. So yeah, it's just going to be a 1 photo, 1 page layout, but I'm kind of happy with that. All right, I did do a little bit of stash busting and I found these craft colored die cuts from the Hope and Kindness set from a couple of years ago. And I like them because some of them already have like a white printed detail on them. So that one heart has like stitched lines around it. And then I was able to find a couple of other smaller hearts that had that same white stitching detail. And then I found this little tab, that same thing. It's the craft paper, but it has some like white, shiny, embossed stripes on it. And I was like, well, that could be kind of fun. And I play around a little bit. I stuck it over here. And at first I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And then I'm like, well, that's random. Maybe I don't like that. But then I put it back in. I'm like, no, No, actually, I think that I do. It is a little weird and random, and I don't know, I'm sure it probably could be better, but I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to glue all of those things down right where I've got them. And so, yeah, I'll put my journaling underneath the photo. And my last few touches here, I've just gone digging for various gems. I'm not sure if I want to use gold or silver. I end up going actually with these clear sparkles, and I'm just going to scatter them up in that top left-hand corner and then also in the bottom right hand. And that's going to be it for this layout. I'm really happy with it. It came together pretty quickly in one afternoon. And like I said, I don't really have very many pictures of the two of us because usually I'm the one behind the camera and taking pictures of the kids. So I'm sure at some point when we are older, they're not going to remember what we looked like. But it's good to kind of get, if you do end up with a good picture, get it into the scrapbook so that your kids can remember. And that's it. So it was a lot of fun. I love the way that Desert Rose and also that Scarlet cardstock just really kind of made everything pop off of these neutrals. I hope you guys have been inspired and you've enjoyed watching. I will leave links to any of the products that are available in the description box down below. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Happy crafting, guys. Bye.